Good morning. This is Dr. Craig Stern at Pharma Pharmaceutical Consultants and ProData Analytics. We've started this commentary on our RX Info Exchange page. I hope that you'll find this of interest. We're going to try and do it twice a week on Mondays and on Wednesdays, and we're going to talk about issues that we see in the news in order to try and bring some context to it. I note that on the RX Info Exchange page that the healthcare stock indices are down, indicating that there's less of an interest in it. There has clearly been some discussion that while the number of mergers and acquisitions are down, so is the interest seems to be declining. Whether that's an impact here directly or the fact that some of the late stage phase 3 studies, including one by Vertex that was stopped after a high severity patient population in cystic fibrosis. If that's something that's involved, we don't know. But effectively, stocks are down in this area. The other things that are of note that we want to talk about is that it's interesting that while everyone talks about big data and analytics, very rarely is there much information about it other than to say that there are programs to take. Most people seem to be using some of the older and more standard statistical programs like SAS, perhaps SPSS, which are good and relatively easy to find a simple solution. But at the end of the day, there's really two main areas in analytics. One is where mathematicians and people like ourselves are dealing with big problems and big solutions, and then problems that everyone has that don't require a lot of these big tools, but require solutions that can happen all the time. I have to make a self-serving comment in that ProData Analytics and ProPharma are involved in that, and clearly we have it. But it's important that everybody realizes that you don't need a lot of mathematicians like myself or otherwise in order to solve all of your analytics problems. The other issues that we think are of interest is that some of the interest in the retail pharmacy area seems to have dropped off, and things are more common about some of the OTCs, over-the-counter type products. It's important to note, by the way, that people tend not to think of those as drugs. So when they're giving lists of drugs, they tend to forget that. However, there are a significant number of drug interactions that occur in very sick people, people with HIV, AIDS, cancer, etc. And so it's terribly important that people think about this and think about the fact that these medications are part of the list and what they want, so that these drug interactions are important. And especially, by the way, some of the proton pump inhibitors, PPIs, like generic Prilosec or generic Nexium. These are important things that people have to care about, especially with regard to drug interactions. Finally, I think it's important that Pharma has noted that there are some very important late-stage studies that seem to be failing, and it's important to note that everybody realize that when you do a study on a late-stage disease, you don't get some of the great responses that you want, because these are very sick people, and the medications probably are not going to have great response. You do see much better responses when the people are low severity or mid severity, but high severity becomes a problem. I think we'll talk more about some of these things when I talk to you next time. I thank you for taking the time to spend time with us, and remember to visit ProPharmaPharmaceuticalConsultants.com/RxInfoX, and you can see what's happening in the news each and every day. Thanks so much, and have a great day.